is the real Erika Kirk?
Sex sells, babe.
Sex sells.
Wow.
That's me.
The internet is buzzing with rumors about internal turmoil inside Turning Point USA. Over the past few weeks, a wave of social media posts, podcasts, and commentary videos have been circulating online, claiming that the organization is facing a serious internal power struggle. At the center of the speculation are conversations about leadership changes, staff departures, and growing tensions between people who were once close allies of Charlie Kirk. One of the loudest voices discussing these rumors is political commentator Candace Owens, who has been questioning decisions made by people now connected to the organization's leadership circle. Supporters say the situation is being exaggerated by critics, while others believe there may be deeper disagreements happening behind the scenes. But separating fact from speculation has become increasingly difficult, especially as anonymous sources, former employees, and online commentators continue to add new claims into the mix. So, what is actually happening inside Turning Point USA, and why has the conversation around it become so explosive online? In recent weeks, discussions about internal tensions at Turning Point USA have intensified across podcasts, political commentary channels, and social media. What started as scattered online posts quickly turned into a larger conversation about leadership decisions, staff departures, and the future direction of the organization founded by Charlie Kirk. Much of the speculation has centered on claims that several employees or insiders connected to the organization have recently left their positions or been removed from internal roles. While organizations often experience staffing changes, critics online have argued that the number of departures suggests something deeper may be happening behind the scenes. Some commentators claim that certain employees who were closely aligned with Charlie Kirk's earlier leadership style feel uneasy about the organization's current direction. Others argue that these claims are exaggerated and simply reflect the natural tensions that can occur when a large political organization grows and changes. The situation gained even more attention when political commentator Candace Owens began publicly discussing the issue on her platforms. In several broadcasts and interviews, Owens raised questions about internal culture and leadership decisions at the organization. Her commentary quickly spread across political media, drawing both support and criticism. Supporters of Owens believe she is highlighting concerns that deserve attention, particularly when former insiders speak about workplace tensions. Critics, however, argue that her commentary relies heavily on anonymous sources and online speculation, which can make it difficult to verify the accuracy of the claims. Adding to the confusion is the way modern media ecosystems operate. Stories that begin with a single post or clip can rapidly circulate through podcasts, commentary channels, and social platforms. Within hours, thousands of people may be discussing the same story, even if the original information came from only a few individuals. This dynamic has made the Turning Point USA discussion particularly complex. Some former employees and commentators describe the situation as evidence of a deeper internal power struggle, while others insist the organization is simply undergoing normal structural changes as it expands. Meanwhile, the organization itself has not publicly confirmed many of the claims circulating online. Without official statements addressing every allegation or rumor, the conversation has largely been driven by outside voices interpreting events from their own perspectives. That lack of clear answers has only fueled further speculation, because when an influential political organization experiences visible changes, and when those changes are discussed by prominent commentators, the internet tends to fill in the gaps with its own theories. And that's exactly what appears to be happening now. The next part of the story focuses on why certain commentators believe the situation could represent a deeper ideological divide within the movement itself. As the online discussions surrounding Turning Point USA continued to grow, the focus gradually shifted from individual staffing decisions to something much bigger: the future direction of the organization itself. For years, Turning Point USA had built its identity around campus activism, youth political engagement, and a strong presence in conservative media circles under the leadership of Charlie Kirk. But according to some commentators and former insiders speaking publicly, there is now a debate happening about how the organization should evolve moving forward. On one side of the conversation are supporters who believe that organizations like Turning Point USA must constantly adapt in order to remain influential in a rapidly changing political environment. As media platforms evolve and younger audiences consume content differently, they argue that the organization's strategy must also evolve to stay relevant. On the other side are critics who say that the organization risks losing parts of its original mission if leadership decisions shift too far away from what initially attracted supporters. Some commentators claim that recent changes in messaging, partnerships, or public appearances may reflect a broader shift in priorities. Much of this debate has played out online, particularly in political commentary spaces where personalities often analyse and debate developments within conservative movements. Among those voices is Candace Owens, who has publicly questioned certain leadership decisions and encouraged deeper scrutiny of internal dynamics. Owens' commentary has amplified the conversation significantly. Because she has a large audience and a history of involvement with conservative activism, her remarks quickly spread through podcasts, social media platforms, and independent political media channels. Supporters of Owens argue that questioning leadership within influential organizations is a healthy part of political discourse. They believe that transparency and accountability are important for any organization that claims to represent a broader movement. Critics, however, warn that the rapid spread of speculation online can sometimes create narratives that are difficult to verify. Without direct confirmation from official sources, they say, it can be easy for rumors or misunderstandings to gain traction simply because they generate strong reactions. This tension between speculation and verified information has become one of the defining features of the current discussion. And it highlights a larger reality about modern political movements. Many of their most intense debates no longer happen behind closed doors. Instead, they unfold in real time across podcasts, live streams, and social media platforms where millions of viewers watch the conversation develop. For Turning Point USA, that means every leadership decision, staffing change, or internal disagreement can quickly become part of a public narrative, whether or not the full story is known. As the debate continues, the key question being asked by observers is simple. Is this controversy just a temporary internal disagreement within a growing organization, or does it signal a deeper ideological divide that could reshape its future? That question remains unanswered. But the online conversation shows no signs of slowing down. As discussions about Turning Point USA continued spreading online, the situation escalated when more commentators and former insiders began sharing their perspectives. In the modern media landscape, internal disagreements rarely stay private for long, especially when an organization has a large public profile and a passionate supporter base. Podcasts, live streams, and independent political commentary channels quickly became the main arenas where the debate unfolded. Various commentators began discussing reports that some staff members had recently left the organization or were unhappy with changes happening behind the scenes. While many of these claims came from anonymous sources or second-hand accounts, they still generated significant attention because of the organization's influence in conservative political activism. Once again, Candace Owens became one of the most prominent voices addressing the issue. Through her broadcasts and interviews, she questioned leadership decisions and suggested that the public deserved more clarity about what was happening inside the organization. Her commentary reached millions of viewers and encouraged others in the political media space to examine the situation more closely. Supporters of Owens argued that speaking openly about internal disagreements can help promote transparency. They believe influential organizations should be willing to answer questions from the audiences and activists who support them. Critics, however, raised a different concern. They argued that many of the stories circulating online were based on speculation rather than confirmed facts. In their view, the rapid spread of unverified claims could create confusion or exaggerate tensions that might otherwise be resolved internally. This disagreement over how the situation should be discussed became a controversy of its own. On one side were commentators who believed the conversation was exposing real internal issues that needed public attention. On the other side were voices warning that the internet can sometimes amplify rumors before the full context is known. Meanwhile, the organization itself remained relatively quiet about the claims circulating online. Without detailed public responses addressing every allegation or rumor, the conversation continued to be shaped largely by outside commentators and online speculation. That silence created a vacuum, and in the world of social media, a vacuum rarely stays empty for long. More commentators began analyzing past interviews, speeches, and organizational decisions, trying to determine whether recent developments represented a temporary leadership transition or a deeper shift in strategy. Supporters of Charlie Kirk continued to emphasize the organization's long-standing mission of promoting conservative ideas on college campuses. Others argued that movements often evolve as they grow, and that change is not necessarily evidence of internal conflict. What became clear, however, was that the conversation had grown far beyond the original claims. It had turned into a broader debate about leadership, loyalty, transparency, and the future direction of one of the most recognizable youth political organizations in the United States. And as more people joined the discussion, the story began moving toward a new phase. The reaction from supporters, critics, and the wider political community watching the situation unfold. By this point, the discussions surrounding Turning Point USA had moved far beyond a few online posts. It had turned into a full-scale debate across political media, podcasts, live streams, and social platforms where supporters and critics were all trying to interpret what the recent developments meant. Clips from commentary shows began circulating rapidly, each offering a slightly different perspective on the situation. Some commentators framed the issue as a normal leadership transition inside a growing political organization. Others argued that the tensions being discussed online could reflect deeper disagreements about strategy, messaging, or internal culture. Because Turning Point USA has spent years building a large presence among young conservative audiences, the organization's supporters quickly joined the conversation. Many defended the group and warned against assuming that online rumors represented the full story. They pointed out that large organizations often experience staffing changes, leadership shifts, and internal debates that never fully reflect the public narrative created online. At the same time, critics of the organization used the controversy to question its leadership structure and decision-making processes. For them, the situation became an opportunity to examine how influential political organizations operate behind the scenes. One of the reasons the debate spread so quickly is that Turning Point USA sits at the center of several major political media networks. Events organized by the group frequently feature politicians, commentators, and activists who already have large audiences online. When those audiences start discussing internal rumors or speculation, the conversation can grow extremely quickly. Meanwhile, the commentary from figures like Candace Owens continued fueling the discussion. Her broadcasts analyzing the situation reached millions of viewers, which meant that even people who had never closely followed Turning Point USA suddenly became aware of the controversy. As the story spread, supporters and critics began forming their own interpretations of what might be happening behind the scenes. Some believed the situation represented a simple disagreement between different factions within the movement. Others believed it was an example of how political organizations can face growing pains as they expand their influence. But despite all the debates, one thing remained unclear: how much of the online conversation reflected verified information, and how much was driven by speculation amplified by social media. And that uncertainty has become one of the defining features of the entire story. In the modern media environment, rumors, commentary, and analysis can sometimes spread faster than official statements or confirmed facts. As a result, audiences often find themselves watching events unfold in real time without having a complete picture of what is actually happening behind the scenes. For now, the conversation around Turning Point USA remains ongoing. Commentators continue analyzing new information as it appears, while supporters of the organization emphasize its long-term mission and influence. And that leaves the story at a crossroads, because the final outcome will likely depend on whether more insiders decide to speak publicly, or whether the organization itself chooses to directly address the growing speculation. At this stage, the Turning Point USA controversy reflects something larger than a single organization. It shows how modern political movements operate in an era where internal disagreements, rumors, and commentary can instantly become public debates watched by millions of people. Whether the current discussion fades away or evolves into something bigger will depend on what information becomes available in the coming weeks. For now, the most important takeaway may simply be this: in today's media landscape, the story rarely ends when the first rumor appears. Often that's just the moment when the real debate begins,